preacher came to see us, you know, invite us. Yeah. And he said, when you, well, I guess I was about 9 when I was about then. Because he said, when you expect the baby, and I said, I'm going to have the baby on Friday. And he said, oh, you're going to have a cesarean? And I said, no, I'm just going to have the baby on Friday.
From Angelo Heights to this location was quite difficult. The church kind of split because there was a large number of them that wanted to stay in the neighborhood where the old church, where Angelo Heights was.
Pretty much dead set against the move out here. I kind of felt like that there were a lot of older members at Angelo Heights that lived within a few blocks of the church. And it kind of hurt me that we moved this far away.
I totally agree with you on the people that weren't able to move with us. It was heartbreaking, really, because that had been their church for so long. But on the positive side, we made some really, really good friends there in Angelo Heights, and we came over from First Methodist, and we would have still been there, but Clyde wanted a smaller church, and so we decided to try Angelo Heights and loved it. And we got in this crazy Sunday school class with Nita and Hobby Smith, Jane with Kay and Dwayne Kaiser, and Judy and Lloyd Rucker, and our lives changed from there, and we became really good Christians after that. So.
Well, I guess I'm, if I remember, I didn't mind the move so much, even though we lived close to the church and we were very close to the church and I loved it. But I was so sorry to lose some of the good friends that we had. But I had a lot of faith in Peggy Dales. And she said, that's where San Angelo is going to grow. And that's where we need to be. So I took her word for it. And I've never been sorry since.
Our church was in the path of the loop. And in fact, about where our church was is at Madison, really on the access road. That's about where we were, it's where the access road is now. And so we didn't have a choice. But anyway, I just, I also loved Peggy Deltz. And I just remember her being always such a calm presence in all those meetings. And I'll never forget, we changed the side of town we were on. We changed from a very traditional church building to very contemporary. And that also was contentious. The thing about the move is I remember her and we changed the name. That was the other thing. So even we had a new name. But I will never forget her standing up and talking about we would like to propose the name Sierra Vista. And she talked about how that's seeing over the vista, seeing over the mountain. And that's really what they did. They saw over the mountain.
One of the things that I remember that tended to bond us all is that, and Joel will understand this, but between every service, depending on what was going on, Scotty Elms would get up there and move chairs because everything was movable, and everybody jump in and we'd haul chairs around, and because there might be a baptism coming up on the next week or whatever, and I just remember how flexible it was for weddings and like that, and Scotty wasn't the only one doing it, but Scotty would ooch and scooch stuff, move this around here, get this much room between the chairs and like that. And so once again, that was in Angelo Heights that came to hear that kept that family atmosphere going, and we would all join in for that. And so that new contemporary sanctuary, while smaller, we definitely made it work for a long time, and I think making it work was part of what joined this congregation together.
When we had that what is now called chapel hall, the kitchen and the foyer, and in the sanctuary we had curtains, big old curtains went all the way to the ceiling, real thick plastic, and after the service we would pull those curtains out and they'd come across and make 6 rooms, and we'd have the adult Sunday school classes in there, and Coral I know taught one, uh, and I'll never forget. Coral, funniest thing was one time we were going and they made us break up because it was time to put them back for the next service. And Coral said, "Well, I can't finish this today. I'll do it next Sunday. Y'all just keep singing until then." And I still remember that.
Once we got over here, it wasn't like you were walking into a room of strangers. It was like you were walking into a big family reunion. So that really made a big difference of getting adjusted to the new church.
Right.
The problem is we outgrew it pretty fast.
Quite a discussion, and not near as big a battle as Angelo Heights, but when we built the new sanctuary here, we had only the old. We had a lot of discussions of whether we could afford it or not. And we had some that said, well, let's just build a great big gym, and that way it'll be multi-purpose, metal building and all. And Robert Hall was the pastor then. And Robert said, no, we're going to build something to the Lord.
I was a member of the finance committee, and every time we met, we went on faith. We would say, and especially when we increased the budget, and we would say, how in the world are we going to make this budget? But we're going to put it down, and with faith, we'll come through. And every year we did. Somehow we made
I
it.
tell you right now that that's what makes this church what it is you don't hesitate to help somebody. You don't get have to have a reason. If somebody says they're in trouble and need help, then somebody in this church, or some more than some, are going to do whatever they can to help them. And I think about Rodney Floyd and what he did for this church is absolutely amazing. And people like Rodney, everybody here has got a story about somebody that did something for them or their family. And like I said, the money was going to be there. I remember one that came up to buy this lot next door. I was talking to George Lumpkin, who was at that time was pastor at St. Luke's, and I said, "Man, that's a lot of money for that lot." And I remember he looked at me and said, "I don't think I've ever seen a Methodist church go bankrupt."
True story.
And so right then, that the things that people have done without any glory or any pat on the back, it's just they do it, and that's what makes this church what it is.
We started a small harvest festival,
Yeah.
and as a money raiser and all. And I remember Joe McClure would gather about 3 barrel barbecue pits, and I'd come up here, and I forget the other gentleman's name that came also, and we would sit there, and we went out to got Struby's sausage and chickens and things, and we would barbecue all night long. And it started out kind of small because we were in the fellowship hall we had built. But I think what really made it grow was when we got a big old tent and put it out there in front of the church and put a bunch of stuff in there, and all of a sudden, just driving by College Hills, people would see, and we started just getting people coming by like a big old garage sale or something, and it just grew from there on because we were so visible to so many people driving up and down College Hill.
It was to help us pay at the end of the month, we needed the money for ourselves. And after that, it was so successful that after that, it was always for someone else. And that has just continued to be that way. But one of the things that I love about this church, I think we've had some wonderful pastors that have helped us grow. But all of us that came over from Angelo Heights and all of the people that have joined since, love is still the main ingredient in this church. And that has not changed. And I am so thankful for that, because that's what makes it work. That's what makes it work.
To have had the leadership in this church and been very blessed with the leaders and our pastors that we've had. And I feel like this church has just been very blessed.
It crossed my mind that this cross that I carry in my pocket started with Bill Huth, our first pastor, when we moved over here to the new church, and he gave each of us one of these little crosses to keep us on track. And so
I keep mine in my purse.
from the get-go, the continued personal relationship with Christ and our church has been emphasized by the leadership of our church through the years, and we all, of course, continue that on a daily basis. And we're all blessed by that connectivity. So it's been a pleasure.